Hi there everybody, Joel Kennedy with Kennedy Violins. So today's featured violin is the David Yale Signature Series. Now we have a lot of variations from David Yale, but David Yales all have one thing in common, and they, as a general rule, represent the best instruments that we have in the shop in terms of like the non-consignment violins and whatnot. So they're all master grade instruments. So what does that mean? Well, it means that a lot of time has been spent on the interior carvings of the violins. And the differences in the violins are usually pretty small. So if you don't come into the shop in Washington, I highly recommend you do an in-home trial. We have an in-home trial program where it's very inexpensive. It's just basically the cost of shipping. We'll send a couple violins out to you. You can compare the violins, play them to your heart's content for a month and a half, whatever it is, and then you can decide what flavor of the month it is for you, what type of violin you want. And they are meant for, advanced players. So the David Yales, there's a lot of nuance that you can create with the kind of sounds that you create on the instrument, right? You can really explore different textures, dynamics, colors in whatever piece it is, especially if you put a really high quality set of strings, which is, very advisable, right? So which Yale is good for you is probably going to be determined by you comparing instruments. But one thing is true, you're not going to dislike any Yales. They are great violins for the price as a general rule. I mean, if you walked into your average violin shop, you probably could expect to pay $1,000, $2,000 more for the same violin. So why is that? Well, we purchase directly from the maker. So we don't go through trading companies or wholesalers or distributors or anything like that. We purchase directly from the luthier. So because we don't have that middleman, we can sell these premium violins for a lot less than everybody else. So all that aside, what you're going to see with the David Yales is most of them are Strad copies, as most violins are, but there are some Guarneri copies as well, and I'll talk about that in another video. But you're going to have the most choice spruce on the top. You're going to have the most choice, triple A maple, highly figured on the back. Could be two piece, could be one piece. And you can call Kennedy Violins, whatever, email us, and request, hey, could I have a one piece or two piece? And we'll look around, we'll find the violin that you want, right? They're going to be antiqued. They're not heavily antique, but they are antique, so they look like an older violin. There's a lot of care has gone into this shading on the violin. So you'll see some shading here, like this one. You got a little bit darker here around the bows, a little bit lighter here on the top. Same thing with the top. And there's a little bit of antiquing, so these look like the old Stradivariuses or whatever that they're kind of mimicking, I suppose you could say. So all the fittings are going to be they're going to have a decorative element to it. So they're not only just super high quality, but they're also going to be beautiful. The pegs, the fingerboard, the tailpiece. Now generally these will come out or be set up as a violin that has one fine tuner and an ebony tailpiece. But if you want a ball end or a loop end fine tuner, you just let us know. If you want 4 built-in fine tuners, that's fine. There's no extra charge. You just let us know if you want it set up differently than the picture on the website. We'll be happy to set it up. Okay, so one of the things that I mentioned in all my videos, here at Kennedy Violins, we do the final assembly and setup here in Washington State. So these are not set up overseas or just set up by somebody else in some other state and set up and then sent to us. We want to control the quality of the setup for our standards. So a setup is really, really important because that's going to determine if the potential of that instrument was maximized. So whatever the potential is of your violin, we want it to sound as good as it can sound, and we want it to be able to be played as well as it can. So it's easy to play, right? It's easy to get that note out of the instrument. It's responsive. You can play those double pianos. You can play those double fortes, whatever you need to do. So when I talk about setup specifically, I'm talking about, of course, the bridge. Now, all the Yales have the highest quality French Aubert bridge fitted to the top of the violin. So we spend a lot of time on the feet, so they're fitting the top of the violin very well. The curvature of the bridge, the thickness of the bridge. We even spend a lot of time on the belly in particular. The luthiers spend a lot of time on these. And what that does when you spend all that time on the bridge is that maximizes the instrument's ability to resonate, because you want the vibrations of those strings to be transmitted the most efficient way possible to the top of that violin. So we spend a lot of time on the bridge, a lot of time planing that fingerboard so your double stops are as in tune as they could possibly be, especially fifths. And of course the height of the strings, right? So the violin is just as easy to play in first position as it is in seventh position. And of course a lot of time on the nut and with the pegs. So the pegs are fit very well, so the violin is easy to tune and it stays in tune, okay? And of course the Yales go out with the highest quality, professional quality, full suspension, full oblong violin case. So not only is it going to protect your brand new, beautiful violin as well as it could possibly be protected, but it's also going to have a lot of storage, right? So you could even, put your sheet music in there if you want. So it's a nice case. So if you guys have any questions about the Yales, if you want to participate in the in-home trial program, just send us an email or give us a call. Remember, here at Kennedy Violins, we're all players and teachers. So most of us, play here professionally, locally here in the Pacific Northwest, or we teach. So we know these instruments really well. So if you're looking for a specific characteristic in your violin, you let us know, and we're going to be able to match you up with the violin that you are going to fall in love with. So with that, I'll bid you guys adieu, and I hope you have a great day.